Much has happened since we last spoke on this podcast. On episode 448, we talked about a potential win and incomings. On episode 449, which is now, we've got both. Andre Garcia has left for Club Bruges. Caden Young has come in from Aston Villa on loan, however, and we managed to get 3 delicious points against the Cobblers. Joining me as always tonight is Mr. Ross Webber, late
Hello.
because of traffic.
Wow.
Why was
I was
that?
just going to
What's
say,
going on?
actually, though, you were able to say Caden Young has joined, and perhaps that happened because I was late in traffic. You know, that has only just happened. So these are the most live reactions you're possibly going to get to the transfer deadline day.
Well, the window has slammed shut.
Mm-hmm.
It closed at 7 p.m. UK time.
It's very odd, isn't it? I feel like, did they always do that? Or is that
They
new?
went to midnight once upon a time, didn't they? I remember
That's what I thought.
or was it 11? It was late.
No, I thought
It was
it
really
was late. Whatever it was, like the story I always remember is like Harry Redknapp not managing to get his fax out to Real Madrid or wherever it was that he was buying a player from ages and ages ago, and that happened like late at night, as I remember, not at like 7 o'clock in the evening. You know, like if you're at UEFA or FIFA or whoever it is that has to sanction these things, you'd think, you know, whatever, it's 7. I don't need to go home until 8. I'll just get this one put through as well. So
Well,
yeah.
I think normally, like with the transfers, it normally shut on the 31st of January, didn't it?
Yeah,
And because that was a Saturday, they kind of rolled it over for 2 days. It's all football's just weird these days.
It's bizarre.
It used to be the window used to be you used to sit there, you know, of an afternoon and you'd watch the whole thing just escalate over the course of 5 hours. They'd have people everywhere, and now, I mean, I turned it on briefly. You've got Blimmin, I think it was Michael Dawson. And
Okay.
Ashley Williams. I like Ashley Williams, but he's not a pundit. And they were talking about this player that Liverpool were going for, and they both admitted they'd never seen him play.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? You know, he's too expensive. You've never seen him play though, lads, have you?
Yeah,
You've just
yeah.
admitted it on live TV. So what are we doing?
Right.
Like, what's the
Yeah.
point?
It is very, very tough to assess transfers. I'll say that much. And I'm going to be honest with you right now, listeners. I've never seen Caden Young play football before. So
Never
how
seen
much I
Caden
can
Young
tell
play
you
football?
today.
It's awkward.
No. Awful. Terrible pundit. Sack the whole show off.
I
We're
didn't
done.
even know he existed until an hour ago. So let alone see
No.
him play. Like,
No, me neither.
same with the fella from Colchester that we couldn't get over the line. Anyway, we'll talk about that and the 5 signings that we did make over the course of this past month, plus a win, a much needed win against Northampton, who Northampton. We'll save it for the recap. Massive thanks as always to Voldemar. He's privately apologised for his mess up on Bluesky when he quoted a completely different podcast, which is good. All is forgiven. Thank you to the Amazons for their lending of their track My Blood. We're going to get right into the recap because Ross has a lot to say for once. So we're going to do that right now. Right, episode 449 of the Tilehurst podcast. You've been spoilt, listeners. You really
right.
have. You had a podcast on Friday. You're going to have a podcast on Tuesday morning.
Right.
And we've got a win to talk about, haven't we? We said we needed to win to keep our season alive, which probably sounded a bit dramatic to some of you. But we felt it. You know, that's what we said. I'm just trying to find my match report. Hold on 2 seconds.
Well, just in terms of keeping the
Go into it, Ross.
keeping the playoff run alive. Yeah. I thought this was not too bad at all. You know, the first thing I checked after, you know, like before we got on today, was to check and see whether Kevin Nolan had been let go by Northampton, just to see if that was one of those kinds of gains. But it looks like that didn't happen. Actually, I guess we can start here. This is a little bit less on the actual game itself while you're digging out a report here. But I went and had a look this weekend after the game against Northampton at the home and away records, because obviously we have this perception, we even said it last week, that Reading aren't great away from home. But after the Northampton game, Reading are 12th in the league away from home, slap bang in the middle of the table. Certainly still not a great away team by any shape of the shape of the imagination, but at least some improvement towards being an average team away from home. And we won't have to talk about it today, but I think that the 2 games that we just, dropped points in, so to speak, those are the ones that you really want to kick on if you are going to, be a playoff team, as you kind of spoke about last week, because our home form only has us like ninth or something like that in the table too. So I think that's almost like the bigger issue. But I just thought it's quite interesting before we get into this to kind of like put that like top down approach on Reading's away form this season, which has been fundamentally middle of the road, basically. And so in the context of a lot of fundamentally middle of the road performances, I was kind of okay with this one. But I watched it, and I'll throw back to you any sec, Ben, but I watched this just for the listeners' sake, more than 24 hours after the fact. And I watch a lot of games, just so we're all on the same level here, at like 1.5 speed or like 2 speed sometimes, because you can actually kind of see like the shapes moving around a little bit easier sometimes in that sort of setup. It's just like, they get back into the same movements over and over again. So anyway, I thought this was overall a pretty good away performance, with the caveat that Northampton aren't very good. But how did you feel about it, Ben? What did your match report tell you?
First off, we weren't good. And there was a lot of frustration that way. And to be honest with you, there was a couple of boos here and there. There was that new, I said a new song, sounds ridiculous, but that, sideways and backwards everywhere we go. And it very much felt like we were letting them off the hook, really. Northampton, with all due respect to them, were probably one of the worst teams I've seen this year. They were really, really bad. And their confidence, particularly up front and in any sort of attacking sense on the wings, is shot to pieces. They had a really, really good chance in the first half, which Pereira, who we can talk about, saved and had a very, very good game and celebrated everything like he'd scored, which is good to see. It's good to see that passion, given the fact that some idiot on this podcast talked about apathy around a club only 2 days ago. I thought first half we were really poor. We didn't really push them or press them in terms of an attacking sense, and we let them come on to us, really, and we were struggling, I think, when we got to half time. However, we've talked about this time and again in terms of the quality that there is in the team, and whilst it wasn't sparkling by any stretch of the imagination, we scored 2 goals in a very, very quick blitz through Jack Marriott. I mean, wonderful finish. He is player of the season, whatever happens now for me. And Will Keane, I honestly, it was like jumpers for goalpost stuff. That ball in from wing and the way that he headed it, really kind of rattled it against the crossbar, and it went in.
Right,
and it was great.
Bang, sorry, just real quick. It was right after when I was watching this. The main thing I noticed was that Wing tried the exact same cross about 20 seconds earlier in the exact same thing, and then they managed to shake the ball out around back to him on that right side, and then he can get the ball in again. It was good to see a goal coming from the right side, because I think that Reading over the last few weeks have been very left side dominant, especially since Hayden Roberts came in, and sometimes that can lead to the attack being a little bit unbalanced, but obviously it leads to good things too. Will Keane's goal against Exeter is a good example of one where we were able to move the ball over to the left very quickly, and then create. So I definitely got a slightly different take on this. I also watched it without sound, which I always find helps. I don't know why.
The atmosphere was deadly. Like, honestly, it was absolutely, there was little to no atmosphere from the home end or the home fans. It was soulless in there. It really was.
What I was going to say though was that I recommend like watching it, or like even if you went to the game or something, like watching it like afterwards without sound at some point, because it is funny how different the perception is that you'll put together of it. Like it's funny how much your perception of a football match will be dictated by the atmosphere and by what the commentators are saying. Like, even if you are having your own thoughts on top of it, like some things will come into your head, you know, ideas that they have given you and be like, oh yeah, I could look for that. But I thought this is a really interesting one to look at, you know, with the sound off. I was a little bit more encouraged by the first half. I still think there are issues. But I thought that this was a pretty good away performance because I thought Reading were relatively in control. There was the very poor Pereira, you know, the corner that led to that Pereira save in the first half, and then I'll talk in a little bit about the one-on-one that they got towards the end of the first half as well. but there was a sign of one of the kind of goals that we almost, we kind of like the Will Keane one that we created, through Hayden Roberts in the first 10 minutes, where Marriott got into the box from a Hayden Roberts cross and was able to get a shot off. There were definitely not as many, like shots as I would like. And I still think that we're having some issues with working the ball into central spaces, especially in the final third. I mean, most of our finishes are balls over the top or like crosses into the box and like a first time finish or something like that. So
I think that was the frustration, overall in the balance of the game. So you talk about shots. We had 10 in total, 5 on, 5 off.
But wait. Sorry, I'm sorry. I know I'm jumping down your throat here. While it was a game, until it was 2-0, we had more shots than them. So while it was a game, we were playing, we were in control. We were like, ahead of them in terms of going forward and like creating chances. And then I think that Savage had a poor game, which is very rare for him these days. But you can tell he had a poor game because he was hooked after 60 minutes, which again doesn't happen these days. And I think once they brought Fraser on, there was a conscious decision made to go, all right, we've got 2-0, we've got 2 goals. They're not going to score 2 goals. Let's just shut up shop here. And again, like it is frustrating, to watch. It's not the most exciting thing ever. It's not particularly entertaining. But in terms of just like an away performance to get you over the line, I thought it was what was needed.
And I don't. No one was complaining at the end of the game, really. But my point is that we're playing a team who were incredibly low on confidence, who didn't really have the backing of the home fans in terms of noise and overall support. There was an anxiety around the ground anyway, and we just didn't. I just felt like we didn't really progress in the first half at all. And had that gone in, I can't remember who it was. Was it List maybe? I'm not sure. I had the shot.
Is that the one at the end of the half? The
one-on-one? It was like, but effectively you describe it as a one-on-one. He should have scored. Pereira probably made the save look more complicated than it was. But had that gone in, there would have been serious questions asked at half time, and it would have been a bit more, vociferous than it was. And ultimately, had we not won the game, I think there would have been questions asked overall. And I think we're in this kind of constant state of flux at the moment where there isn't for me, there isn't a noticeable style. There isn't a kind of a huge amount of confidence in terms of, we're going to win those games. We're coming off the back of a 3-game winless run, if you want to be dramatic and call it that, which factually it is. So, to get the 2 goals was really, really important. And you're right, they were never going to score. Well, they probably weren't going to score 1 goal, let alone 2.
We said that during the preview, right? As well, like they're rubbish.
The game's done and dusted. The game is finished. The confidence is shot altogether. I just feel that we could do more, and certainly when we moved to a 4-4-2 or a more traditional 4-4-2, it looked a little bit more, I don't know, no other word to describe it, but sensible. It looked a bit more like it made sense in terms of the players we've got. I'm still not sold on Paddy Lane. I don't think he really knows what he's doing in that team. There's no relationship between him and Nyambi at the moment, and you'd expect that after the lack of time they've had. But there doesn't for me. There doesn't feel like there is going to be a relationship between those two. So,
you want me do you want me to talk crud all over that now and give you the positive spin on all of these? Didn't you get told off for being negative this week or something like that?
Yeah, but I just call it as I see it. Like, I'm not. I want us to be.
You're not negative.
Good.
You're apathetic.
I'm fed up of watching, what is essentially turgid nonsense. And I'm not saying this is. I'm just saying that in terms of where we are, 10th is fine. Call the season off now. Happy days. We'll all go into the summer and leave it at that. Like, I don't want another bunch of games.
Sure.
I don't think we're going to. I still don't think we're going to get in the playoffs. But
so let me give you the positive spin on this game then, because I saw a lot of changes, a lot of tweaks. I saw the starts of a relationship between Nambe and Lane, but agree that there was less of that going on than what was going on the other side. However, I think that was partially because Reading's attack was really lopsided down the left and has been since Roberts came into the team. Now, I don't mind that so much at the moment because Reading have been very lopsided on the right for large parts of this season, whereby Dorset has played as the left back, but then he's come inside as the elbow back to be in that back 3 and then a 2. we've been doing that kind of build up most of the season since Liam joined. And this was one of the first times I'm starting to see that change against Northampton. So it's very interesting. So now with Nambe and Hayden Roberts, we have two players who can play as much more traditional left backs when they want to. Nambe can also obviously come inside and be an elbow back. Hayden Roberts thinks that he's a centre back too, apparently. So could probably do that in the future. He was talking about that in his first interview. Now, Reading built up a lot more in this game in either a 2-4 or a 4-2 structure, which was really something that we haven't seen so much so far this year, whereby Roberts would actually hold his run for a little bit. And with the sort of, we played pretty much in a 4-4-2 from the start in this game. Keane he was definitely the second striker and he had more remit to drop off. But Kamari Doyle was pretty much out on the left from the start. But what was really cool was they would play the ball over to the right side and then there was some trigger. And I'm not 100% sure what it is yet. I need a few more weeks to spot it, I guess. But there was some trigger for when basically they'd sit in this 2-4 or this 4-2 with both the fullbacks out wide helping out this Charlie and Lewis in the middle for build up. And that actually, I did think that actually mucked with Charlie's ability to build up a little bit. But one of the key things that would happen was Kamari Doyle would drift inside. That would take the right back with him. And when Roberts spotted that, I think this is the trigger, he would head down the field and they would hit a long ball over the top to him. They found him 4 or 5 times in the first half and we created 2 shots from it, I think, which was quite impressive. And so that's the start of a mechanism that we can use over and over again. And the thing that was impressive or exciting about it for me is that the triggers are clearly not quite baked into the rest of the defense yet. But this for me is something that Lewis Wing is going to be able to absolutely eat with. So again, the key thing that's happening here, they start in a 2-4 build-up, but there is a trigger which appears to be related to when Kamari Doyle has managed to adjust the positioning of the right back, and then Hayden Roberts moves up and becomes a free man, either in the final third or pretty far up into the opposite half. I thought that was really encouraging to see, and it's something that we didn't have the personnel to do, 3 weeks ago. So there's still work to do to get it working more often. But I think that Kamari Doyle has struggled a little bit on that sort of more 10 role in the last few weeks with just being a presence in the middle. And so moving him out to start on the left and giving him something to do that then moves their defense around, I thought was quite a good use of him. So I think there were some things in this game that I was pretty happy with. But just to round off that point, the one-on-one that came at the end of this half, that happened directly because Northampton attacked the space that can open up in behind Roberts when he goes down the field. And Dorset didn't do a good enough job of covering over and getting his body into the right place to cut off that run. So it is a strength, I think, for Reading that they now have this ability to push a man up dynamically, and there is a trigger for that. But it does mean that there's going to be space in behind him occasionally. And, Dorset, who has played at left centre back for large parts of this season, should be doing a little bit better in that situation, in my opinion. But again, there's going to be space in behind there because that's what the game plan asks for.
Again, we could talk a lot about Dorset. I don't think he had a good game, but I don't see it with him in there next to O'Connor at all. I'm not confident with that really, and I would expect Ben Ward to come in against Wimbledon at the weekend for a replacement. I'd also expect Hayden Young to come in as well, and that then means that of the 5 players that we've brought in, all 5 will be in the starting 11 when they can, the first opportunity they can be. Do you not think that says a little bit around how Liam currently views the squad and what he's inherited? I
have a more positive opinion of Dorset than most people.
I'm not being positive or negative. I'm just saying, do you think that's quite telling? Because when you bring in players that you kind of supplement them with what you've already got, and you want to have strength and depth. But actually, if these, Will Keane, Nyambe, and Roberts will start now, as much as humanly possible, I would imagine Ward. I hope that Ward comes in for Dorset.
I think that Dorset's going to have to do something that'll get him dropped, and it's not going to be after a clean sheet in which he won every single one of his aerial duels in a game in which we lost the majority of our aerial duels. So, in this game, the only people who could win in the air were Dorset and Paudie O'Connor. And so I hear what you're saying. Like I think he can be got at. Like the one ground duel that he lost was the one where the guy went past him for a 1-on-1. So like that he makes, like I say, he sicks up on his trousers once a game. But he does, like, I also understand why Liam picks him, if that makes sense, because he is physically imposing and can really deal with, people in the air.
But that says a lot about his positional awareness and his pace.
But Ben, that's the thing. If that says a lot about his positional awareness and pace, does him not winning every single one of his aerial duels on that day also not say a lot about his positionalism and his pace and his ability to anticipate?
I think, if you look at the defenders that we have got, most of them are pretty good in the air, aren't they? Finley Burns is all right. O'Connor's all right.
Dorset's definitely the number 2 in that role. Like, so he wins if you have him up against like Derek Williams and stuff. He wins more than Derek does in the air. He's just a bigger lad. And again, like I think that. I mean, I've actually been somewhat surprised that Will Keane's come into the team quite so quickly, but I think that we're kind of seeing now that he's a real threat from crosses, and Liam wants crosses. So we are going to see that. By the way, we hoof the ball a lot. Like somebody said that Northampton were aerial the other day. We hit more than twice the number of long balls that Northampton Town, Kevin Nolan's Northampton Town hit in this game. So we definitely have like triggers where it's just like, just hit the ball over the top, lads. Don't even worry about it.
But this is it. And this goes back to the point about the midfield. It didn't work between Savage and Wing on Saturday because they were too close to each other all the time. They were getting in each other's way, because that middle part was so congested. And he's got this obsession with not allowing them or one of them to play in front of the ball. Just push one of them up just a little bit, just to free up a little bit of space there and create something moving up the pitch. But he just won't do it. It's almost like they have to stay in a line with each other on a piece of string at times. It's very, very frustrating to watch. And I think this is the point that, a lot of people made after the game, in that we are... no one doubts that we're developing, but what we haven't got is that consistency. I don't expect us to go and get a result on Saturday. I would imagine that we will probably lose. And then we're back to that cycle again, aren't we? I think it was a good away win because we needed it to happen. You win any away game 2-0. That is a real classic away result, regardless of who you're playing. I just felt in the first half we let them, control a little bit too much the game. And this is going to sound contradictory because, for me, I never really felt like we were in danger of the game getting away from us.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Do enough. We didn't do enough in that first half to go, okay, we can see the building blocks here, it's moving forward. That was my take on it from where I was stood anyway. So I think there are green shoots, and I definitely think this team could probably do something, but I just don't see what Liam is trying to do at the moment. I don't know. I can't explain it any better than that, really.
It's a 2-4 build up, and then and then it's this. I'm just more positive on it right now. I think that I was earlier this season. I got burned because I was like, drop Lewis Wing, like drop and moving forward and do all this kind of stuff. And I've been proven wrong. Like Wing should be in that position. Like where did the Marriott goal come from this week? It came from Wing being in that position. And again, Wing being in that position that he's allowed because of that position he's in, he can get there for that cross that he delivered for the second one too. So yeah, at the end of the day, like I'm fair enough. Like Wing proved me wrong. He should be staying there. And that's what he did. Did you know that he is the number 1 player in the EFL Fantasy League? I didn't know this.
Lewis Wing?
Yeah, he is. Out of all Championship, League 1, League 2, he's the number 1 player.
Is he?
Yeah, which I just thought was quite funny.
Crazy.
I do agree with you. Like I said, Savage was struggling a little bit more in this game. However, I think that was more a growing pain of working through this new trigger and working through this new thing with Hayden Roberts. So again, you promised me and listeners promised me you're going to watch for this weekend. But what you're going to see is, again, you'll see Dorset and Paudie O'Connor, because Dorset's not going to get dropped, for the next game, and they'll be at the back, and then in front of them you'll see Savage and Wing, and then you'll see Nambe on one side and Roberts, and just watch Kamari Doyle and see what what happens when he moves inside. And I bet it's Hayden Roberts going into that space that he was just in because the right back has been pulled out of it. So there is far more going on here than under Noel Hunt. This is not the same thing whereby every single week there's just more of the same and like nothing is really improving. In the first half, we had 65% possession, and in terms of expected goals on target, we were right there, the same as them. They had a one-on-one, and they had a shot that came from like a yard away from that corner, and yet we still generated the same amount of expected goals on target. So I don't think it was a perfect performance, but while the game was a game, we put our foot on their throat and slowly get like churned away at trying to make an attack. And Lewis Wing is excellent and is going to do something like that once a game. Like it's like I think part of the reason Man U are doing so well right now is because they're finally just letting Bruno Fernandes do his thing and like not limiting him. So I don't know, like I don't think we're amazing, don't get me wrong, but I think that there's so much more under Liam than there was under Noel, and I have more confidence that under Liam for a little while, the players who have been under him for a little while will start to get even better. That trigger with Roberts moving forward, that is going to get cleaner. That is going to get faster over the next couple of weeks. And I think it's a real shame that we've lost Chirwa at this time because I do think that Lane wasn't as good as Roberts or Doyle on the other side against Northampton. But, like at the moment, because Nambe has to be the elbow back, he's not getting as much support on that side. So I'm kind of not surprised that he didn't play as well. There's like reasons for all of it. It is a somewhat boring era of football. I do concede when like every League One's a really weird league because like the players aren't quite good enough to do like all these fancy modern things in many cases, but the managers are all trying to get signed by these clubs where they will have to go and do all these fancy like modern things. So they have to like prove they can do it unless they're just deciding like, the guy who was the MK Carl Robinson or Alex Ferguson's kid or whatever. There are these managers that seem to just decide that they're lower leagues managers and that's all they want to do. They can make a team hard to beat. But the vast majority of managers now in the Championship and the Premier League are these guys that understand the modern game and can build attacks, in lots of different ways. So I think that League One is this weird, like, in-between league whereby the managers want to do these incredible things, the players aren't quite at the level that makes it easy to do that. And I think we saw that with like the 4-2-2-2 under Sellers. Like that was an early example of like manager with some really high-minded ideas trying to do something that is just never going to work with League One quality players. That's a lot of rambling. Sorry.
Well, I think the most interesting stat out of all this is that we've now lost just one of our last 9 games.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it. It generally doesn't feel like it. We're 10th in the table, obviously, which I think is pretty much where we'll stay. Liam after the game, he said he was pleased with the result, and pleased with a lot of the aspects of the performance. We're coming to a ground where you have to do the fundamentals really well, and credit to the players because they did that. I don't know what he means by coming to a ground and do the fundamentals, but whatever. I thought we controlled large parts of the first half, but I wanted to be a bit cleaner. That's basically what I said.
Yeah. I mean, like you just said that we weren't in control in the first half, and he said we controlled large parts of the first half, which I agree with.
There were periods of time where we weren't in control.
There was 2 chances that Northampton had I thought we were much better than Northampton, and I didn't really ever think this result was in doubt personally. And again, like I can totally understand that it's frustrating to have to sit and watch 25 minutes of Redden going, all right, lads, come at us, try and score once we got up, 2-0. But like that's an away game against League One against Northampton. It's 100 cuts from relegation, and one of the cuts is that you have to play these rubbish games. It was the same when I was watching League One last time with like Bournemouth way back in the day. Anyway.
What was I going to say? I can't remember what I was going to say now. I was going to talk about the 5 signings we've made, but we've kind of done that, haven't we, over the last couple of pods? So,
yeah.
I mean, all in all, all right. I think it makes more sense this window than it did in the summer.
Yeah,
Personally, it seems like they've gone definitely sort of defence out. Great, go and sign 3 defenders. Fantastic. Need another striker. Will Keane comes in. Obviously lost Chilwell. Could get Lisby over the line. So they've gone after Caden Young pretty quickly. You have to credit that really in terms of a backup, a contingency plan, because they
yeah,
could have just left it and gone, we were right, but they didn't. They pushed it through. They got this lad in who I know nothing about. I know he played in the Europa League last week, but beyond that, nothing. So, overall, if you look at it, it's a very sensible window in terms of the players and the profile they've come in. They've signed
yeah.
some players on a contract. Some of them are loans. Like it makes sense. Whether or not these players and the rest of the group can push us up to the playoffs, I don't think so. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see where we go. But put it this way, I'd much rather be in the position we're in now than Northampton are, because as we've
Yeah.
said, they were pretty desperate at times. So
I'd much rather be
sensible
in
window.
I'd much rather be in the position that we are now on February 2nd, 2026 than February 2nd, 2025, when all we were doing was getting rid of players like Sam Smith because we had to pay wages and stuff like that. Like, overall, as a window, I do agree with you that it seemed a little bit more thought through. It seemed like there was a little bit more of a through line with all of it. It's good to see the 2 permanent signings that were made were young guys that still have a lot to give, that should have some hunger still in football, and really want to push on and make a name for themselves, continue to move up the leagues. I thought that was really really good to see, and not necessarily something that we saw over the summer. And then the loans, those are much more going towards, it kind of implies that Liam is at least going to try and take a run at the playoffs. I would say I need to look up the league table since November, because that's when he came in. So I'll go take a look at that soon. But in any case, I think this is a better window. Obviously, we may find that there are some busts in here in however many months' time, but compared to some of the signings that came in earlier this season, Will Keane's already scored 2 goals for us. Roberts clearly is going to be starting for this team for a while. Nambe is an improvement on Yiadom, I would say. Ben Ward, we haven't seen yet, but what we can see of his numbers and things like that is really impressive. So, yeah, overall, I thought this is a pretty good window. I know nothing as well about Caden Young, who's come on in today. Who cares about Europa League? They let Scottish teams play in that. It's not a real tournament. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I do wonder if they would have brought in Caden Young if Daniel Chirwa wasn't injured, but I also completely agree with you. I think we both said it around the same time, right? That the fact that they were able to move with such speed to a plan B, because it seemed clear, if you weren't aware, listeners, that Kyrese Lisby was the primary right-wing target that Reading were looking for in this window, and he eventually, I believe, decided to stay at Colchester. Is that right?
It depends who you believe. I mean,
Yeah.
By all accounts, he
know.
wanted it. The club didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's done now, so we move on and go from there.
So,
one thing that was quite good on Saturday, I met a lot of good people, and they had.
Yeah.
It's always a bit weird. Like at home, you kind of sense the vibe when people kind of come up to you or they talk to you or whatever, and you kind of sense the vibe at home, like you get it. But away, it's like, are they gonna throw, when they say my name, they're gonna throw an egg in my face, or are they gonna go, it's amazing, or what? But there was one guy, and I've completely forgotten his name. So if you're listening, I'm really, really sorry. But he was in our row, and after about 15 minutes, he went, "Oh, are you Ben from the Times?" I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm quite a new listener." And I started listening, and I heard this American guy, and I thought, I'm not listening to this. Like, I'm not doing it. And he said, but actually, like, Ross really knows his stuff, and he was talking about, listen to the pod, and he said, like, with his podcast, he does it because he likes listening to the people more than anything. Obviously, he's a Reading fan as well, but it was just quite nice to talk to him, really. And there was there was a lot of people that I met, and Sim was raging because he's like, I come to every game. You turn up to about 5 or 6 if you're lucky away games this season. I edit the whole thing, like I make you two look really, really good, and no one recognises him. So
well, I edit this.
Well, all right, no, but he,
anything.
he puts it. the
Yeah,
umbrella
yeah,
he
yeah,
puts it together, you know.
yeah,
And he's like, in my head, I'm like, he's the editor of not only the biggest Reading fan site, or the only Reading fan site, if you want to, in the purest sense, but probably in League One as well, in terms of the amount of followers we've got.
yeah,
So, and he's like, what's going on? Like, what is
yeah,
happening here? And it just got really, really awkward, because the more it happened, the more I could just feel him, like, stewing,
yeah,
which was
yeah.
quite funny, really. So, but yeah, if you said hello on Saturday, and I really appreciate it. It's nice, because sometimes you just feel like you're just talking into the abyss
Yeah.
with it, and it's just us talking, and you forget sometimes people are listening. So it's really good, really, really good to meet a lot of you on Saturday, and it's nice to meet you at the games at home as well. Like, it's nice when people come up and say it's
How many
mildly
people
amusing or
made fun
whatever.
of you and said, I didn't think you went to away games?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably quite. No
Get
one,
a couple?
no one actually
No?
on Saturday. No
All
one.
right,
But
that's good then.
so yeah, I don't go to as many as I want to, unfortunately. But that's the reality of life,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it's tough to travel to
Um,
Northampton.
I know it was blooming. The journey back was horrific.
Yeah,
Getting out of
yeah.
Northampton was a nightmare.
Did you have to get on a
Rain.
smart motorway or whatever the hell they're called?
No, it's just quite congested. They had the rugby on as well, which is why it was 2 o'clock. So
Oh,
yeah, a little
yeah,
bit
yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
chaotic, really.
Oh, well.
We what have we got? We've got the mailbags. We're going to do that in just a moment. As we leave the recap. Right, welcome back to episode 449. Of course, 450 next week.
I
Is that a
know,
big
I
number?
know. It's a weird one, isn't
That
it?
is
We're
loads
getting towards the big 500, but that's not going to be,
of
knowing
50
us,
episodes.
yeah, like that's not going to be
We
until
won't do
like,
it this year, will we?
no, it's
Will
going to
we
be
do it this year? No, we won't
2050.
do it this year.
I don't even know when we'll get to that, but yeah. Do you want me to start with the email that
Yeah,
we
go
got
on.
today?
Oh,
Yeah.
we got an email. We love an email, don't we?
We love an email from Alan.
Bloody love it.
Alan in Milwaukee, who we always enjoy hearing from.
Go on, Alan.
And Alan's probably also freezing cold, same
Is
as
that
me.
Alan
So.
Is it Bykowski?
Alan
Bykowski?
Bykowski, yeah, Bykowski. I don't know. Alan, I apologize if I'm saying your name incorrectly. But anyway,
Yeah, sorry
he says
with
ownership. Go ahead, sorry. No, I'm just talking nonsense. All right, good. All right, Alan says ownership with intent in his subject line. He says, wow, what a transfer window. I was happy with 2 starting fullbacks and a defender for the future in Ward and some offensive support. When I heard they were also after Lisby, which didn't happen, it felt too good to be true. And then it was too good to be true. But while I'd love the long-term option, immediately pivoting to bring in Caden Young was to me a bigger statement than the Lisby pursuit was. Granted, long-term assets are always preferable, but when the ownership groups are in need, they try to fill it. And when that didn't work, they said, screw it, we have a backup plan and we're going for it. I don't know how this season will end, but to me, this is clear intent that they are pushing to go up this year. That was an immense window, and the Moxie to be undeterred by the Colchester cold feet, instead bringing in a player who 96 hours earlier was tallying an assist in European football is really impressive. This is what I just said, how far we've come from hoping the Sam Smith sale would fund the club through the end of the season. Kudos to Rob Coig and Todd Trustclair. They've earned it. Up the Royals, from Alan in Milwaukee. Yeah, I think, Alan, we literally just said, right, like, we are also very encouraged by the pivot, like how quickly they pivoted. But I agree with Alan here, Ben. Do you agree?
it.
Like, it seems to me like the ownership group are pushing for the playoffs here.
I do. I don't think anyone's told the football team on a pitch, though. Yeah, look, I think there will be an outside possibility of that, and I think there will be a belief in terms of the optimism that they've always shared with
Hmm.
fans, rightly or wrongly, in that they're not just going to go like me, where just get on the beach now, sort of thing. Like, I'm all right with that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
okay with us being 10th and just staying there. Like, I'm good with it. I think they will probably think, given the issues that they got to get the club, they won't want to settle for that, and that's perfectly understandable. I do feel that someone's pulled, the recruitment team in slash Joe Jacobson and gone, can you like try and bring in some players that we actually need this time, rather than like loanees of random players that just are not going to be okay for us. So
Yeah.
there is clearly a structure this time round.
Hmm.
I wouldn't call it spectacular. I wouldn't call it amazing. I'd call it, a sensible, much needed window that
Yeah.
a lot of football clubs do every single window when it comes around. So, you know, uh, in terms of the point about the playoffs, yeah, I think they won't want to give it up until it's mathematically impossible. But those 8 points seem like 18 points at the
It
moment
seems
in
like a
terms of
long
how
way.
those other
Yeah.
teams are performing.
Yeah.
Because at the moment,
Um,
we can only do what we can do, but then we're relying on other teams to lose already, and that's
yeah.
early February. That's difficult. That's a difficult mentality. So, it is possible, but I don't see it happening personally.
I have now pulled up. Well, I've got two. I kind of got to choose your adventure here. I'll scribble it down if not. I've pulled. Maybe we'll do this in the preview. I have pulled up where Reading are in the table since Liam Richardson joined. So we
Cool.
can talk about that at some point. But I think this is actually a more
Okay.
interesting question first. Do you think it would have been a spectacular window if Lisby had signed?
As well as Caden Young.
No, instead of Caden Young.
I don't. I couldn't. I don't know him. Honestly, I don't. I've never
Yeah,
seen
and
the kid
and
play, so
the
I couldn't tell
reason
you. You know.
I feel like, sorry, Ben, I'm cutting you off all over the place today, like an idiot. The reason that people are getting excited about Kyrie Lisby potentially coming in is because he has 15 goal involvements already this year in League Two. So that was the primary reason. And I agree, we don't know, and we don't know Caden Young either, really. But I think
I
that if
think
we
if you
brought in, go ahead, sorry.
I think if you are always in a situation where you can go and get your first choice, that's
Hmm.
definitely a good window. Like if they'd gone, Kyrie's Lisby's our man, off we go.
Yeah,
Uh, would it have been spectacular? I don't know. It's needed. Like there isn't enough wingers in the team right now. We've got Monsters Inc. out, we've got Special K out. Like they're not available. So we need to bring in. I would have liked to see another striker personally, but as we said on the last pod, which striker was going to come in and go? I'll just sit behind Jack Marriott. It's
yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's not going to happen. So I just feel that there is an element of Liam not fancying the players that are there at the moment. I
yeah,
really do, and I think that's okay. I think that's sensible. There is clearly not an emphasis on youth at the moment, which saddens me because I like to have, kind of these players coming through and pushing because it from a sad little football fan point of view, it gives that connection. It gives that
I
kind
know
of,
what you
yeah,
mean.
he's one of us, we're behind him sort of thing. But I I don't see anything wrong with this window. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think it's been okay.
I completely agree on, it's funny, especially at the start of the season, I really agreed on the youth thing fully. And I think I still do. I think it's easier. I think part of why the Sellers team was so beloved was because there's so many young players, really getting their first start in the game or really pushing on for the first time in the game. And that was exciting. Now, Marriott obviously is having an incredible season, a really great season. His numbers are insane. He is beating all of his expected stuff. Did you hear a single rumor about Jack Marriott during this window? And I think that's Ben's sorry. Yeah, you're shaking your head.
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. No, I didn't. I
No.
didn't. And that's a good point. And
Which
I
is
think
remarkable to me.
what you're
Like
going to
I
go on to is say the business that we did of outgoings was keep the squad together by and large. Sean Patton's gone
yeah.
out on loan. Obviously, Garcia going is there's a tinge of sadness there because I really liked him as a player. I thought he was
Yeah.
good. But there comes a point when you have to be realistic and from a business sense, do you want to keep him and stockpile him? Probably not, So
Yeah. The thing that's encouraging to me, I guess, is I just think that like with Marriott, because he's like of that age, even if he's playing super, super well, like scouts saw that he didn't get many starts in the championship just 9 months ago. So they know like what he's going to do when he gets up there. And I think it's just, you think about like how disrupted Sam Smith was in the first half of last season or in the first like month or two of last season because his head had been turned, in the summer. And that not happening for Marriott, I think could be quite important for our season, especially if Will Keane starts banging in crosses as well. That gives us another way to score goals. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good to see. Should we do another question? We've gotten quite a long way away from the mailbag. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, mate. You haven't told me about the beer recently, Andy. It's very disappointing of you. There
Hmm,
hasn't really been many home games for you to talk about beer, so I'll let you off. What
right.
happens if Wing gets an injury? We lack creativity
Great.
and rely far too much on his pinpoint long balls. They're almost Beckham-esque in their accuracy. He's right.
Yeah, he's not wrong, but
We do lack creativity.
who is Wing's midfield partner?
Charlie.
It's Charlie Savage. So if Wing leaves the team, I think pretty much what will happen almost immediately is that you will just see Liam Fraser come in. He will begin doing what Charlie does in this team, and Charlie will start doing what Wing does instead. I think you couldn't have a better. I honestly like Charlie is. I mean, obviously the problem, the only issue with Charlie versus in terms of him not being a direct replacement for Lewis is that he's left-footed and Lewis is right-footed. They can both do
Mm.
that role though, and I like. I have had to not get off Charlie's back because I was never really on it.
You were. Oh
No, I
my God.
wasn't.
Even Robbie said you
Despite
were.
what you no, yeah, because he's his child, and so he's convinced that I'm going at it. But like, Charlie's been great this year. Charlie's been good this year, like throughout. And I just feel pretty confident that he would be able to at least provide some of that creativity. You know, we had a streak this year where Charlie was scoring quite a bit and assisting and things like that. He's not as good as Lewis Wing. Don't get me wrong. Lewis Wing is arguably the best midfielder in the league on his day, especially with the ball at his feet.
Mm.
But like, I think that Charlie would be able to do the same kind of long ball thing, and it would just be a case of like, where do you put him on the pitch to make the most use of that?
So
Do we
basically,
want to be
if
playing all
Lewis
these
Ring
long
gets
balls?
injured, you're
If
okay.
Lewis, I mean, I'm not like. Look, I earlier this. Okay, look, I think we'll take a hit, like because he is again like one of the best players in the league, let alone in the team. So like we wouldn't have the benefit of like one in every 3 or 4 games when he scores a silly goal,
Mm.
and you know we get that little boost out of it. So look, we would definitely be a worse team if Lewis. Yes, we would be a worse team if our best player got injured. But I think it's kind of. I do think that at least with him, it's not like Pereira, whereby you lose Pereira and immediately you are putting in a replacement who is far, far worse. Like when you're outfield, I think you have a few more options to sort of rebalance things. So yeah, it would be a big hit, and I think for the first week or two we would really struggle without Lewis Wing. But I actually, because Liam is able to build these different kinds of attacks and these different kinds of build-ups and things, I am more confident that after a few weeks, Liam would work out a new way for us to play.
Okay. Alistair. Oh, hold on. Oh yeah, Alistair. What did you guys think of the switch in tactics that meant Paudie was the one that was often playing that big switch of play
There you go.
out to the left? Do you think this is Liam's attempt to allow Wing to get further forward and not have to play past himself? Well,
I
it was nice to see
think
Paudie use the ball a bit. I'd give you that much.
I think it's to make the build up a bit more dynamic for sure. Like I think that they're trying to build it so that, you know, Paudie can play that ball forward long, or Lewis can, you know, if he's in that position too. And Paudie O'Connor has good numbers for playing long balls, or at least has in previous seasons. So, you know, when he came into the team, that was something that I spoke about, is that he is an odd right-footed left-sided centre back who likes to play the ball over the top to the right winger. Liam's using him in basically the same way here and saying, let's put him on the right side of defence and let's have him use his right foot to smash the ball over the top to Roberts. The trigger needs to get better. Like, don't get me wrong, this was not perfect, but
Mm.
like, this is something that is going to trip up a lot of League One teams. A lot of League One teams are not going to know what to do with Hayden Roberts when he runs forward in that. So yeah, great spotting of the tactics. I agree that Paudie being able to use his big old right foot on that side of defense could be useful. I would be more worried if. Honestly, at this point, I'd be more worried if Roberts got injured than Wing. No, that's ridiculous. Don't be stupid, Russ. This is me just digging
Um,
myself a hole on Lewis Wing
I know,
again.
I was going to say, you are just, yeah, you really are.
Yeah,
John Pryor, why are we so slow playing out from the back? I love you, John.
because we
I've
have a
never
lot
met
of
you, I don't
slow
think, but I
players.
love you.
He's not wrong.
Dorset, Paudie, and even Wing taking 3 or 4 touches instead of 2-touch football and getting it out wide to Roberts or Lane quickly.
Yeah,
Seems every pass could be made a touch earlier.
I can tell you a little
Come
bit
on,
more about
John.
that if you like.
Come on.
They're trying
Briefly,
to,
I'm just conscious of time here.
Yeah, they're trying to draw. They're trying to draw the attack onto them, basically. So they are. Yes, they are playing slow. You might remember Bindon as well did that last year a lot. He would roll the ball out slowly and try and get the attack to bite on him. They're trying to get the attack to bite on the back line of the defense so that they can then play the ball over the top. I'm just saying they love that ball over the top, and I mean I don't love that we're playing a ton of long ball football, but like at least they found a way. At least they found something repeatable. Like seriously, go back and watch the first 30 minutes of the game against Northampton. It's all available on Royals TV, and just watch the amount of times that they managed to find Roberts high on the left side because it's quite a lot. Anyway,
Mark. I'm always happy with a win away from home. Overall, I thought the performance was poor, but we played well to score the goals. Right. Me, Mark, John, let's all go out for a lager.
yeah.
Leave Ross at home. He can't come.
Oh, I like football. I like it when the coach has got ideas. Oh, do you want a big running winger? No, that sounds boring.
He's right. For me, this team is crying out for a young James Harper, someone who has a great engine and can drive forward with the ball. Yeah, just get someone to get the ball up the pitch.
Yeah. I can totally see a lot of I can totally see and understand a lot of these opinions, and I'm probably the one who's wrong because if everyone's the asshole, you're the asshole, meaning me, right? So I'm the one being the contrarian here. I do think that they got outfought against Northampton in particular, which is actually why I went and checked to see if Kevin Nolan had been fired, because to me this felt like the players for Northampton giving it a last big go for Kevin Nolan, and just them.
Yeah, it didn't amount to anything, did it? Honestly, they were the worst team I've seen this year.
They are rubbish. But in any case, I think there are just some shoots here. I do agree that we're playing very slow, and like there are times when it can be really, really turgid. But again, I just kind of think there's a few things going on. One, this is League One, and a lot of us in the fan base are used to Championship or higher football. And then two, the current state of football. I understand that like right now what's going on in the Premier League is a lot of physicality and a lot of like trying to play back and forth through the thirds and stuff like that. But that normally takes like a year or two to, trickle down the leagues if it's going to. I feel like we're still, like Liam loves his box midfield and stuff like that. That was really popular 2 years ago in the Premier League. Like I feel like it's just a case of like you can't adapt as quickly as the elite. And you're still, he's using these little modern things. So yeah, can create a bit of a turgid game at times. Don't get me wrong. We literally decided to stink the place up after 60 minutes on Saturday. So yeah.
Have you noticed I'm using a pen today rather than a pencil?
I've got to be honest with you, Ben. I've never noticed that you use a pen, but a pencil before. So this revelation is new to me. I'm sorry. I use a mechanical pencil, if that helps.
I hate them. They're pointless.
I love them. Lots of them.
Which is exactly why you like an elbow back, isn't it? Mechanical pencils and elbow back.
People get on my back about saying XG too much, which they absolutely should. And people don't get on my back enough about saying elbow back a lot. Here's a great question for the listeners. Hang on. Here's the best question for the listeners now. After 2.5 years of having to deal with my nonsense and tripe, can you describe what an elbow back is to me?
Can the listeners do that?
Can you do it?
Yeah, they have to go in a elbow shape. They have to get the ball and then move forward.
They get the ball in an elbow shape and then they move. Gerald Dorset as an elbow back is the best way I can explain it. Like it's a center back. It's like a left back who's doing, or like a full back that's doing center back activities when the team is in possession. Anyway, let's move away from this incredibly boring topic.
No, I don't have an issue with the elbow back thing. I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
James, style of play, we need to get Savage and Wing higher up the pitch. Maybe play Fraser as holding midfielder in a 3-5-2 formation with wing backs and Marriott and Keane as a front two. More exciting style and create more chances. Thoughts?
I just think that Liam has basically decided I've got my way I want to attack, and that's going to be that I'm going to hit the, I'm going to hit the long ball early after drawing people in the build up. I think that he does do the back three sometimes, but most of the time so far where he's tried like a more back or like a back three in possession has gone horribly wrong. Like I'm thinking of the Bradford game is one of the main ones that comes to mind. And again, like if you're thinking about when we gave up control in this Northampton game, was pretty much when we went to a back three. So I wouldn't do it. And again, like I am eating humble pie because I was saying Wing should be dropped and Wing should be moved forward or something like that in, I don't know, like November or whenever that was. And I think I was wrong. Like I just think I was wrong. Like I completely understand like this desire to get those players further forward because they score incredibly exciting goals, and it is fun to watch when like Savage and Wing have the opportunity to shoot from that part of the box. But again, Marriott's ball came from Wing pretty much from that position that he is in because he's in that double pivot. And then again, like he is in that sort of right space, you know, after they've pushed up from a corner to deliver that ball. So I totally hear like the desire to improve the style going forward. But I also think that Wing there does work to a certain degree. And I've kind of had to accept that this season. Like he is going to, in the same way that like Dorset, I say like Dorset is pretty good. He just like, he'll be sick on his trousers once a game. Even when Wing is not having a great game, he'll do the opposite of being sick on his trousers once again. He'll like clean the sick off.
He's not wearing trousers though, is he? He's wearing shorts.
Yeah, goalkeepers should still wear sweatpants. That was a fun era.
Yeah, it was actually.
That was good.
Yeah, that was quite amusing.
The Hungarian guy.
Do you remember the pads? Do you remember the goalkeeper shirts with like the massive pads here?
I've got a few of those. Like, I actually, because I play as the backup goalkeeper for an 11-a-side team, which luckily the main guy is ready all the time. But I have like some of those pants that like that have like the special stuff on the. It's great. Honestly, it's the best. Like I had
pants as well.
Yeah. It's a pretty serious piece of kit, you know. Like I'm a pretty serious player. So yeah,
it's painful viewing, isn't it? At what point do we change the central midfield? Look, you're in the minority. I am the minority.
That's good. That's fine.
Savage, Wing just don't work. I'm sorry, but they don't. Crying out for a ball-carrying midfielder from deep. The slow, clueless build-up kills us. Far too easy to play against us. I just want some excitement. That's what I said about the first half. It was slow. It was turgid. Luckily it didn't kill us because they couldn't finish for, I don't know, something easy.
I feel like I was having the opposite argument this time last year when I was saying I'm a little bit worried about Noah Hunt and what he's doing with his team, guys. Like, if you're like, we get the goal, it's fine. Like, doesn't matter as long as we win or like whatever. And now I'm like, Liam's worked out a way to get us to score. And like one of the big issue before Liam came in was that two big issues. One, Noah had just completely destroyed the attacking, like, anything. All of the attacking mechanisms in this team that Sellers and James Oliver Pierce worked to build into it were gone by the time that Noel left the team. But also on top of that, the defensive solidity that he had, helped to improve upon when he came into the team, that was quickly going in the opposite direction. And Liam had to kind of solve that. So again, I just think that like with this settled back four now, and hey, look, I'm probably going to be wrong because I'm being told I'm wrong over and over today. But like when Ben Ward doesn't come in for the next game, I won't be shocked because I will see it as them deciding this is the back four.
I literally thought you were going to say that if Ben Ward doesn't come into the team, don't shout at me.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I'm calling Liam once a week to tell him, Jarrell, keep playing Jarrell. He's your man. Yeah.
Validate me.
Validate me.
Well, on that note, let's move on to the preview, if you could ever call it a preview on this shambolic, podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look then. Let's have a little look and see where Wimbledon are at in the preview. Right.
I'm going to jump all over you because I'm going to bring back something from earlier in the pod. Which I think will go and it will work nicely as part of this. But my general point on Wimbledon is this is my favorite fixture whenever it comes up in any season. I love playing Wimbledon. I think they have one of the best badges in all of football.
Oh my God, that was gonna be my opening thing.
Yeah.
That's so weird. We haven't even talked about this at all because
I
we never talk about this part of the pod ever, as you can tell. But
yeah.
what are they, like geese or something?
Wombles, flying wombles.
They're just angry. They're angry birds,
Angry
aren't they?
Birds or something. Yeah, they're awesome. I adore the Wimbledon logo. I like everything about that club, and I think you and I have a bit of a misty-eyed Merlin Stickers view of football.
Yeah,
Like you and I have like a lot of things that we don't fully agree with on football. Yeah, but like that's kind of like where we see eye to eye a lot, is that like we have that very misty World Cup sticker book kind of idea. And yeah, that's kind of stuff. Anyway, Liam Richardson, Reading since November 1st. Would you like to guess where we are in the league in the from November 1st until today, which is February 2nd for our listeners? Where do you think we are in the league?
Where would we be?
Since Liam came in.
I think we will probably be fourth or fifth.
Okay, yeah. So you're pretty much bang on. We're in sixth place, having played 2 or 3 games fewer than a lot of other teams around us in there. So we have won 7 of the 14 games since Liam came in, and we've lost only 3 of them. Our goal difference is the 4th best in the division since Liam came in at 10 goals over those 14 games. It is basically for goal difference. So in general, that is obviously trending in the right direction for Liam. And that is, if he had this team, at the start of the season, and even he hasn't had the best results since the new signings came in. So like if he had this team since the start of the season, we'd be sitting in the playoffs right now. And I think that's kind of like what I perceive this Liam team as, just to clarify. Like I don't, at the start of the season, I was like, we're going to finish second. It's not going to happen. And I'm not saying that Liam has turned us into an automatic promotion challenging team immediately. I'm definitely not saying that. But what I am saying is he's turned us into a 6th place team already. And the bad start is what's holding us back. And we might not get to 6th, but it will be because of the start. Yeah, it will be because of the start if we don't make it. So, 100%. Which is encouraging, right, for next year. So again, like I get it. I get the frustration. I do think a lot of that is more to do with modern football than it is to do with Liam. And I could be wrong, because again, like I'm the asshole today. Everyone is telling me that I am not on the same line as everyone else. But just looking at the numbers, looking at everything underlying, and for me, looking at that Northampton game while it was a game, yeah, I would love to be a bit more creative. I would love to score, like we did against Plymouth in every single game. But we've already scored 3 more times than we did under Noel. We scored 2 here without too much difficulty, and then shut it down. So I'm just, if it gets us the points and it gets us back in the championship at the end of next year, then I think that's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and we won't know really with this team until the summer. Until they go, here you go, is X amount of time, whatever, in the summer to go and get your players, get them all in shape, rock on,
Yeah.
What is interesting, and football is a funny old game, as we know full well. When we played Wimbledon at home earlier on in the season, there was so much talk about how good Johnny Jackson was as a manager and coveted. I think they tied him down to a massive contract, well, not a massive contract, but like a lengthy contract to keep people away from him. And going into the weekend, at time of recording now, they're 17th.
And would you like to know?
They're 1 point off the relegation zone.
Yeah, and Ben, would you like to know who is bottom of the league since Liam Richardson came in? It's Wimbledon. Yeah, it's Wimbledon, who have fewer points than Port Vale since November. And Port Vale have been awful this year. So, yeah, it is, I mean, again, it's like another game that we should be thinking about trying to get a win. And if you had said to me, like looking at the 3 away games, starting with Northampton, like how many points do you want out of those? I think that we probably would have said at least 6. This to me seems like another good opportunity to go out and try and get a win. We have 2 games in hand, is it? 1 game in hand on the.
Well, I'm just looking at the
playoffs. 2 games in hand. 1 or 2 games in hand on the teams in the playoffs.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
looking at fixtures for this week. Wimbledon actually play Port Vale tomorrow. Well, Tuesday
Mm.
night. Weirdly, it kicks off at 7 o'clock as a league game.
This is just
That can't be
strange, isn't
right,
it?
can it?
Are you sure it's not like a pizza cup or something like that?
No, no.
No.
Sky Bet League One, Port Vale v
Yeah,
AFC
yeah.
Wimbledon, 7 o'clock.
All kinds of weird things going on in the scheduling this year, aren't there? All kinds of weird things.
Anyway, they will not surprise you to know, but they are
Rubbish.
what are they? They're about 16th in the form table over the last 6 games. I mean, they picked up 4 points
Yeah,
over the last
they're
six
rubbish.
games.
And a lot of those
So
points are against other teams that are down there, by the way. Like, they're not picking up
yeah,
points against good teams. They're picking up scraps against teams that are also not very good. It feels like a very typical old school promotion team, doesn't it? Like, they have that 15 game streak at the start of the season where they're all excited and the atmospheres at their ground are incredible, and that helps, obviously. But then, like, after a little bit of time, the momentum starts to run out, and it feels like the momentum for them ran out sometime in November.
it's it's not looking good for them. You know, they are a point off the relegation zone. Yeah, all right, okay, they've got 2 games in hand over those clubs, but you know that's another difficult game for us.
Hmm.
You know, Leighton Orient, oddly enough, are kind of level on points with them in 18th. But you saw what happened when we went there a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, it's a very, very difficult league to call. It's a very, very difficult league to be able to predict.
Yeah.
I still think we might not get anything out of this game. You know, even though we've got a week on them in terms of recovery and preparation, they have to play obviously, you know, Tuesday evening. They're not in good form. You know, it's another game that you'd look at and say that if we're serious about doing anything this season, we have to keep picking up these points and doing something. The league is so congested that it makes it very, very difficult to really kind of put a run together, really. If we do win, hypothetically, we could go up to 7th, but there would still be a gap to the 6th place team, which is likely to be Huddersfield or Bradford. So, yeah, what do you anticipate from the game?
I think that, again, this is one that I would be expecting Reading to go out and win. And I do think that game state is very important to Reading, which I've said a lot, but and again just means that I think that Reading don't play well when the other team takes the lead. Obviously, they were able to come back against Exeter recently, so that was good to see, and maybe that's something that's changing. But yeah, I think that, like, one of the arguments that I do kind of buy to a certain degree is that there are still some mentality issues that need fixing as they approach the second half of games. But it'll only be helped by things like Northampton, even when, you know, they have to save, you know, Pereira has to make some good saves and things like that. They did keep a clean sheet. They did get the points. And the only way to, like, build on that mentality is to do it, to go out there and actually, like, win those games and actually hold steady, you know, when you need to. So yeah, I think that I would be expecting to win this one as well. And if we pick up, so for these away games, Northampton, Wimbledon, and Wigan on the next Tuesday, if we pick up 7 points from those 3 games, I would again say that's a pretty serious playoff challenging team, especially in away games. And also that's gonna, you know, if we end up winning against Wimbledon, then that's going to be pushing us into, like, one of the 10 best away teams in the league, which is kind of funny. And I think that, like, these little things like mentality, like the away form, are things that they are very loud when they're happening and you can see them. But when they're going away, like when the issue is fading a little bit, it's a lot harder to keep track of. And I think that just looking at these numbers on the away performances this season does show that they've at least found a way to grind out points away from home. And they're going to need to do that, you know, if they're going to get promoted. I do still think it more comes down to the home games. But again, I think they should beat Wimbledon. And if they come out of the games against Northampton and Wimbledon with 6 points, that makes the Wigan game more of a free hit, right? Like, we want to keep pushing now because we are trying to catch up with the top 6 because of the bad start, but we're playing like a top 6 team. and we need to continue doing that. And that means beating Wimbledon. So I think we'll do it personally. I think Will Keane will score again. I am quite excited about the way that man attacks a cross. He has a
I like him
good
a lot.
he's got a
Like
good sense of when a cross comes in, there's like everyone like takes 2 steps towards the goal or towards like wherever it's going, like to try to get onto the ball first, and there's like this little bit of space that opens up, almost like just in front of the 6-yard box. However, Haaland is a monster at using that space. And Will Keane, I've just seen like this little ability. Like I don't love him elsewhere on the pitch. In some cases, I think that he wasn't the best in this game outside of the first half against Northampton. But he's got a real good sense of how to get into that space just behind the defense for a cross, which is it's good to see. So yeah, long may that continue, especially if Hayden Roberts is the one supplying him with crosses.
Just to recap those upcoming games, and some nice symmetry there actually. So we've got Wimbledon away, Wigan away, Wycombe at home. 3 teams beginning with W. Pretty rare that you get that in a season in terms of not but you play them all obviously. Don't start being rude. But what I mean is in terms of in a line, Wimbledon,
Yeah, sure.
Wycombe, Wigan, and Wycombe all together is interesting. Bolton at home and then Port Vale away, which follows a Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday pattern. All 3 of those away games are teams that are in and around the relegation zone. And the home games are teams that are pushing at the topper end, particularly with Bolton as well, who currently occupy 3rd. Whether or not they'll still be there in a couple of weeks' time when we play them at home is another thing to be seen. However, what we can confidently say is the season is really hotting up now. The games are coming thick and fast. So, it's all to play for still. Whether or not we get there again is another thing altogether. Let us know which camp are you in. Are you camp playoffs? Camp not playoffs. Does that make sense?
I like that. Yeah, that was good. Are you in camp Ross is the asshole or camp we're the asshole? Which camp are you in?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This has been episode 449. We'll be back with 450 next week. Probably after the 2 games, I would say. Probably a bit Wednesday, potentially.
Because probably something like that.
We don't really want to do Wimbledon and then go straight into Wigan. We want to try and close those games off, don't we? So we're probably going to go to a Wednesday pattern now for the next couple of weeks. But we'll see how we go. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Hope you enjoyed all the other ones we've done in recent times. They're all there available for you as a back catalogue should you wish to dip into them and realise that we don't know what we're talking about at all when we make these predictions. Certainly from my point of view anyway. Have a good week.
Subscribe. Subscribe to YouTube. Sorry, that's the last thing I'll say.
Subscribe to YouTube. Plug YouTube.
Just real quick, because we're getting really close. I was 985 last time I looked at it. So
we only need 15 more.
We only need 15 more. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel and you would like to see, I don't know, nonsense, but if you would like exclusive content like random clips from this podcast and videos when I can be bothered, then it's a really good place. Anyway, please come on over there. We're doing lots of good stuff. And there's a funny clip of me saying I don't know what I'm talking about. So if you are feeling frustrated with how I've approached this episode and the shutting down of any attempt to be negative, you can go on over to YouTube and see a video of me saying I don't know what I'm talking about, which I'm sure will be very satisfying for you. Nice
little meme.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Reading fans. Another 3 points. Let's go.
Yeah. Love to the family and come on, you arms.